Hello there, hope you're all doing very well today. For those that don't know me, I am a Prestige 100 artist player who has even made it to being the #1 artist player in Europe for Diacro Downs. Today, I wanted to share with you 15 tips and tricks for those looking to learn or master Artist that might help you improve your gameplay. I do have an extensive guide on this killer for anyone that wishes to learn her from the ground up, or for anyone interested perhaps in learning more about her and how to master her. Some tips and tricks from that video have made it into this one after all, but this is more for those that desire a quick and snappy guide of tricks to keep in the back of their minds as they play and learn to play her. So without further ado, let's get into it. Tip number 1. Swarm with only one crow. One big mistake I see a lot of new artist players making is that they place far too many crows down to simply swarm a survivor. Although the artist has add-ons to extend both the repel time and her cooldown, it's a bad habit to fall into as you end up relying on add-ons to hit your shots more than you do your own skill. If ever you find yourself without the add-ons, you'll find that a survivor repels the swarm if 2 or more crows were fired to swarm them before you can injure them with your next volley. Not only that, but the timing before a survivor repels the swarm, with these add-ons included, is a bit finicky and very tight. It is imperative that you fire only one shot to swarm survivors if swarming them is your goal. Any more and your power becomes useless unless they decide not to repel. Tip number 2. Count your crows. Be mindful of how many crows you are placing and using at any given time. If you have placed a bird down, either by mistake or intentionally, that you know won't hit a survivor, fire it as quickly as you can anyway. Your power will recover much faster this way than waiting for your crow to disintegrate. Additionally, if you have placed 2 or more crows that you know won't injure anyone, let them disintegrate, unless you are certain that a 3rd crow will result in a health state. Your aim when placing 2 or more crows is to ensure an injure or a down. If it results in a swarm, it was a bit of a waste of your power. Tip number 3. Fake out placing crows. This is especially effective against players that you can tell know how to counter a good artist player. If a loop is in the middle of the map and has many connected tiles, a competent player will leave to a different loop the second they see you charge your power. Often you can bait them into committing to a more unsafe loop or tile that you can easily lock down or zone them into by faking the placement of a crow. Not only that, but you get to keep all 3 of your crows to fully lock down the next tile. Tip number 4. Be careful how you place crows. Dire crows can be finicky things that can sometimes be spawned on top of rocks, hay bales, and even pallets if you're positioned too close to them. Sometimes this can result in you getting swarms when you should be getting injures. Try to take a step back during moments you fear this could happen to ensure your crow is well placed to get the effect that you want from it. Additionally, be aware that if you stand too close to a wall, you cannot place a crow. There have been many situations where had I placed a crow and fired it, I would have secured a hit, but because I was too close to a wall, I failed to place it down. Tip number 5. Pre-charge your power. Because the timings between your cooldown and the repelling of a swarm on a survivor are quite tight-knit, it's always a good idea to start charging your next shot and angling it before your power has fully recovered. That way, once it has recovered, you can immediately place a crow down. Not a lot of people know this about Artist, but the cooldown you suffer after firing crows is specific to when you can place a new one down, meaning you can charge the power in readiness for when it's off cooldown. Do be mindful that you slow down, however, when charging your power, so only do this close to when your power is coming off of cooldown. Tip number 6. A swarm is better than nothing. If you find yourself swarming a survivor instead of injuring them, say your melee bird failed or you misangled your bird or DBD just said no, don't be disheartened. A swarm is still a powerful tool that you can utilize. You could easily hit your next shot and secure that health state that you wanted, or if you're suffering a cooldown due to having placed multiple crows down, try to force a survivor to drop a pallet on you or vault a window. Therefore, if a survivor commits to any of these actions, they will be forced to start repelling again, giving you a chance to line up a shot on them once your power has recovered. Tip number 7. Learn how the survivor moves. Artists can be quite easily countered and be made to miss shots by a survivor that really knows what they are doing. Some survivors run in odd patterns or hold W after turning a corner to head to a loop that's more open and in their favor. It's important to see which survivors are easy to hit as they don't pay attention, making them fairly predictable and easy to down, and which survivors are switched on and make outplays so that you can predict if they are likely to dodge it or not. If they are likely to dodge, you might be able to place a crow at an angle they were not expecting, or that you predicted they'd move to try and counter their movements. Tip number 8. Be patient with idle crows. When you have a survivor locked into a 50-50, often what the survivor will try to do is bait you to fire the crows early. Always try to only fire the idle crows if you know that they are positioned exactly in the middle of it, so you can capitalize on the crow's large hitbox. close. This way, even if they are faking you out, you might still get a hit on them. This is where patience comes into the picture. This is why it is important to assess your opponent and figure out what they are most likely to do in these scenarios, and wait a second more to be safe if it means securing a hit. Tip number 9. Lock down exit points early. This is a tip that can't be put into practice in every situation or on every map, but this can be especially useful when trying to down survivors who are abusing different elevations or floors. The Badham Preschool House of Pain is a great example for shutting off exits ahead of time. By not going down into the loop early and instead focusing on denying the only exit points and then engaging the chase, you can almost guarantee a health state from the survivor, or, at the very worst, a free swarm when they run into the idle crow. In a way, you treat these crows like a trap that you then corral the survivor into. This is much more effective than simple anti-loop, as survivors won't know or how or where you have set these up. Tip number 10. Practice your melee birds. Melee birding is a technique that every great artist player should try to learn to master, so they can execute it when they really need to. It's not a technique that has a perfect science to it, as it's all about judging the correct distance between you and a survivor. So spend some time when and however you can getting accustomed to hitting these shots, as you'll find many applications in which a good melee bird can lead you to either a quick down, or even a down you would not have got otherwise without doing it. My next tip is a prime example of this in action. Tip number 11. Melee bird to counter distance. On the same vein that as a huntress you want to hit a hatchet on a survivor and then swing into a basic attack, sometimes you need to get 2 hits in quickly. The cooldown between Artist's power and a basic attack is very short, so being able to pull off a quick melee bird into a basic attack can lead to a fast down that you otherwise wouldn't have got. Try to use these to your advantage in scenarios where a survivor has little room for outmaneuvering it. This will also prevent survivors making it to a safer loop, or allowing their teammates to run in and take hits, as you will be much closer to your target than you would be if you just hit them normally. Tip number 12. Learn surprise shots. There are many positions that you can place a crow on certain maps that survivors do not know can result in their demise. Here are a few examples of these placements. Although the positioning and placement of these birds isn't too common in most chases, being able to quickly place, fire, and capitalize on a survivor's false sense of security can be pivotal in applying pressure throughout the match. Not to mention, it just feels so damn cool to down a survivor this way.
Beautiful, man. Oh, yes.
Tip number 13. Try not to use multiple crows solely for information. Although the artist has some incredible tools at her disposal, including information, you really want to focus on trying to use her power more for chase than for solely information. It's better to use perks for information first before using your power, so that should you engage in a chase, you will always have it at the ready. I cannot tell you how many times I've fired crows at a gen, only to find out later that survivors were there and they simply moved out of the way to avoid it. If you need information, firing one crow off at a time to different places, or even the same place, is a more effective use of your power. You can use your power to check if someone is in a locker or not, as it saves you time opening it to check it. If a crow shoots through a locker with a survivor inside it, you will be notified through Killer Instinct. Most survivors tend to forget this. The only time I would say it's acceptable to fire multiple crows for information is if you're hunting for the last survivor, as multiple crows can cover more ground. Tip number 14. Shotgunning crows is okay, but situational. More often than not, if you're trying to pull off a bird shot, you tend to hit them with the first crow you placed. Always aim to fire less crows to hit your shots as you improve. The last thing you want to do is miss a volley of birds and end up with a lengthy cooldown when you need your power the most. There will be scenarios where placing 3 birds is essential in order to guarantee a hit, however, and there is nothing wrong with placing 3 birds and taking a risk if it means securing a much needed down. The advice I give is just to be mindful of how many birds you are using in a chase, as it's easy to fall into a habit of shotgunning crows needlessly in every chase, when it's clear that 2 or maybe even 1 would have been enough. Especially since placing more crows gives a survivor more time to react and turn a corner or make a different play. Tip number 15. Slingshotting is not worth it. The slingshot is a technique that the artist can use that can injure a survivor across the map with a single use of her power. This technique, however, is something that is fun to do, but often hard to pull off, as a survivor can easily avoid the oncoming shot if they are paying attention. As beneficial as this technique is to pull off, it's not always worth the commitment. It's a technique you only ever want to try and pull off if you are certain you can secure that hit, and if you know a survivor is going to commit to that generator or heal deal under that hook. There are many reasons a survivor may let go of that generator, and all you get out of it is a swarm. By all means, practice this technique and have a bit of fun with it, but it's not really something I recommend you do in normal gameplay. Even on stream, there have been many situations where I took the time to set one of these up, and the generator got completed mid-setup. Swarming a survivor with one crow would have been much more beneficial in that circumstance, as they are likely to let go of the generator, or they complete it but now are about to eat a volley of birds. So there you have it, 15 pro tips on how to get better at playing the artist. Thank you for watching. I really hope this helps you in your future matches. This video took a lot of time and work to make, so please leave a like if you think it helped you, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Please leave a comment too of any content ideas you would like to see from me, be it artist or otherwise. If you want to see an artist main in action, then come and join my streams at twitch.tv/Zuza Zaleno. Otherwise, I wish you all a lovely rest of the day. Happy hunting.